I shall make some footage for that. And what I cannot make other videos of, I will cover in those audio lectures that I have recorded. They're from 4 or 5 years ago, just off my cell phone. So especially if I'm talking about anything related to assignments in those, disregard that. um, Pay attention to the email I'm sending out tonight, Wednesday night. All righty. You guys have a good Thanksgiving.
You guys, anyone
Right.
under my group, please stay behind.
Yeah, we can chat a little group chat.
Professor, you
Well,
changed
then
the
I'm
due
gonna stay
date for
behind.
the notes?
What's that?
The due dates for the notes were changed? Sorry, I missed the beginning of class. I don't know if you covered it or not.
Yeah, it's Sunday night by midnight. So
Wait, for the 3rd or the 4th, because
the no, for the notes it's the 30th, I think. Or
no, which ones? Because we got there's notes that there's
For-
notes
for both.
3 and notes 4. That's why I wanted.
for both.
Okay.
Oh, so both are due the 30th?
Yeah. So
Okay.
No, the 29th.
the 29th by the 30th, like by midnight on the 29th.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wait,
so
can you repeat that?
It's due on the 30th or 29th.
What's due?
The
What note?
notes for both
What?
notes?
OneNote section 3 and 4 are due November 29th, this coming Sunday by midnight. For the all those sections, kind of the 1945 up through as far and as much as we can get to on there. So here's the deal. Here's what I was telling a student earlier. If we get a lot of material into the kind of end of these notes, even though we couldn't get to it in class time, I'll pull from that questions and I try to cover the most important thing. I feel like, so if we have more material there over a broader time, like if you guys really like crank out some notes and everybody's got to like catch up and get enough notes in for the points for the end of the semester, the test will still be about the same amount of questions, which means it'll be more about even just kind of the even bigger, just big highlight topic ones, really, and even less kind of any mid-range or maybe trickier questions that have to do, with a lot more depth on something, because there's just a lot more material to cover in terms of testing you guys, which would be good. I'd do that. If it's like we really have to get up to 1989, then I'll only be pulling questions from that period, which is what, like a 45 year period, as opposed to another 20 or 30 years, which is like 70 year period, which is almost double. It's almost double. So it would be even bigger, more easy to remember, questions or topics or events. So for instance, it might just be a question about the women's movement as opposed to a specific question about an event or a book like The Feminine Mystique, or like a more kind of analytical question about feminism. So that's like what I mean by that in terms of content. Okay, so corporate law.
Yeah.
Hey, do we? Oh yeah, do we? Do we get a break or are we just gonna leave early?
Oh no, you're good. Class is over. I'm just hanging out, talking group projects with.
I don't think my group is in here.
Yeah. I'm talking
so.
specifically right now with the corporate law group.
Just rearranged it.
Oh yeah.
You
Okay.
guys are-
Well, bye
You're
then.
welcome and encouraged to stay on if you want to listen, and because it's
Eh.
obviously a lot of the specifics are not going to like transfer over to your group in terms of some of their content, but the principles and ideas and questions definitely will. So, yeah, either have a good night and a good Thanksgiving, or yeah, stick around and
All right. Bye then.
bye. I'm gonna grab a drink real quick.
Oh, of course. Francis, Jennifer, and Bonju, thank you all for coming. I really appreciate it. Even if I was the only one here, I'd still keep be here, but still, it's great to have other people with me.
Well, I'm here too.
Oh, but you're not part.
No, I'm not going in. I gotta listen to questions. I want to see what y'all up to and what y'all doing as well.
Oh, hey, perfect. That's mutually beneficial. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Have anyone started cooking yet?
No.
What?
We got all ingredients today.
Yeah, I did last minute shopping today.
Oh, okay. That's what's
How
up.
was the store?
Huh?
Was the store crowded?
Oh my gosh. Yes. I haven't even gone to Costco. Like
Ooh.
I'm avoiding them.
Ooh. Yeah, we went last night to Smart and Final like late at night, and it was good. It was pretty mellow actually.
Aldi's wasn't bad. It was more Walmart and Target that was ridiculous.
Yeah, those places get crazy. Okay, I've got your Satori.
Yeah, I'm pulling mine up too. So a few questions. One, what do you think of it broadly? And mainly, what ways can we improve? What things do you like? What do we need to do in order to get an A? Those are some good things. We can give you a few minutes to look it over, obviously, but
Yeah. You guys have added more since like a week ago when I was
yeah.
in some of your stuff. Okay. All right. So let me see here. Let me go back up to the top. So what you should start doing is making some headers. So you've got private prisons lobbying, one that says insert date, and the one that says American philosophy, movies, society, religion, cyber attack. So
Yeah.
make some title headings or sections or groups that have dates in them, so you've got some kind of date orientation to the timeline that you're making. And then what I would do is with these themes is where there's like a group of things, right? Like maybe right around the beginning of private prisons, you've got stuff there about let me go down there. So you've got the 13th Amendment, which that's great. State versus federal prison, Reagan's war on drugs. These are like all themes, and they definitely all go together, like mass incarceration, white collar crime, state versus federal prisons. This is all fantastic stuff, and it's good. It's good. It's like, oh, good. These are creative. Thinking outside of the box. You need to stretch these out across the timeline now and place them along things that make sense to go in chronological history. So the 13th Amendment is a great place to start, right? 1860, go put that right up at the top. And, you could label all of these that are very like kind of specific to your topic. You could put a bold heading in here and, like, let me see. So, okay, what was Reagan's war on drugs role in filling private prisons? So, I would do like, I'm just going to write in here, 1980 to 1990 I'll say 92. There's a little bit of shift after that, but not much. Thank you, Janet Reno. Okay. And I'd say Reagan's.
I noticed that Noah put like his name at the top of each of the ones that he wrote. Are we supposed to do that?
Um, n- no, not necessarily. You
Oh,
can,
okay.
or you can put your initials at the end. Um, if I go up to the little like dots up on the upper right hand side, I can click view stats, and then it shows me kind of who spent how much time on this board doing what, and what the different content is. So like I see Francis has spent an hour and 24 minutes. Bonnie,
Sir, I wrote a few
too.
essays.
What's that?
I wrote a few essays. I only got 36 minutes.
Yeah, you must be a quick writer. Or you wrote in a different
Yeah, I
like,
wrote in Google Docs. That's why I wanted to make a lot of
I figured, I'm like, dang dude, you either are cranking it out or you wrote on like OneNote or Google Docs or something. Yeah.
Well, that's what I did. I wrote all the things on my like notes in my iPhone, and then I just copied and transferred and paste.
Yeah, I usually do that too. Unless I'm gonna do something short, I go right in OneNote or some other place. So I put like a title here for this one for Reagan's War on Drugs. So now that would go down towards the bottom of your timeline for 19, once you get to like the 80s. And if you go deeper on this, you'll find one that goes to like Nixon and his campaign that goes maybe like 12 years earlier, or at least 8 or 10 into the 70s. And kind of that war, that's where like the war on crack cocaine and stuff started, and heroin, grew. So you might have a section on that on the war on drugs.
So are we supposed to be writing essays or just doing the timeline?
No, yeah, you don't have to be writing essays at all. These ones that are right here, that I'm talking about specifically with the war on drugs and the private prisons. This is great because what you have right here are like, they're good analysis, right? And and that's one of the most important parts of the project is, so at different points you have to be showing good analysis of like how these different pieces fit together. But another way you have to do that is not just within the theme of like, oh, this one leading to that one, is also by putting them alongside kind of current cultural, not like maybe secondarily related things that are also influencing that and making that happen, like war on drugs, right? And kind of the privatization of prisons and the corporate law. Like, the drug manufacturing companies are responsible for the control of a lot of drugs and the campaign against a lot of drugs, but them legalizing them and making legal versions. So
Yeah,
there's
that's something I think I made a mistake on in writing about like Reagan and the 13th Amendment, and like because that's my little section. I think I clumped some things together because like I talk about like ALEC and how like they push legislation and how it helps different corporations. So like that whole stand your ground law, they're
yeah.
the ones that wrote it, and then it boosted Walmart because they were the ones at the time who had the biggest market for like mass guns. I
Yeah.
talked about that, but I just like kind of grouped it all under one theme.
Yeah, and like the good thing about that I'm saying is like good, and maybe don't change too much of, is mentioning those things kind of here and there. So like it's not bad at all to mention the war on drugs, and even like how we know, most commonly known with Ronald Reagan, but how that started or looked differently, or different people used that at different times. Like, you may not have seen it or had time to read it because it's not like the most important thing to read in the world. But
Yeah,
you might want to read the section in the World War II material on Hitler and drug use and drug and methamphetamine and all that stuff, because it definitely
yeah,
that, and it relates to corporations, and it's these big, medicine makers, but it's also people like, um, I believe DuPont. They kind of organized the illegalization of cannabis because they did not want I think their paper industry to be threatened by hemp. Like that's why it's not even like it wasn't even like a moralistic issue at all. But of course, they know how to get the moralistic people, mobilized.
Hey, Professor.
Yeah.
Based on what you said, I think it's interesting, and I will definitely consider that in my group. Would you recommend us disbanding our current format in favor of like 1860 to 1870, or like,
Yeah.
is that seems to be much more efficient, because like I don't want, there's no point rewriting the same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I agree. I agree. And so that way you guys are integrating your stuff more. And then over the next, week and a half, you can work, or week, you guys can work on like updating this with, more material just alongside in regular kind of historical.
let me do that right now.
Setting. Yeah. And then I would also say like, so in Satori, I've noticed this. If you go look through some of your guys' writings, their word format doesn't automatically make either a paragraph break where there's like a space in a line or an indentation. So a lot of times it can look just like a gigantic block of text, even if you have paragraphs in there. So you have to kind of go through and maybe redo some of those, or like maybe add extra space or something like that. um Add some like titles that are really maybe intriguing but also like kind of informative, like, okay, I know these are kind of the three ingredients of this piece that's like analysis. The other ones that are like, hey, this came out, this invention, and it kind of did this and shaped this, and made maybe kind of a bigger common market, or made people more automated, or made whatever you guys wind up including to go alongside these things for context. I think it'll also be interesting once you see each other's items of kind of like analysis here put up side by side to one another. um you'll see like, oh, hey, actually that reminds me of another thing on the one right next to it that you wrote, and you might want to do a little bit of tweaking there. But you could pick a common title for each, not necessarily all of the things you add, but if you're doing kind of private prisons and crime and the law enforcement, state, police, white crime, drug use, war on drugs themes, like war on drugs could be a thing that you could have going earlier than even the terms really used, when you're looking at like how America, social health, corporate law, institutional medicine, like how those things all fit together and really program a lot of our current society. So you could, that's one way you can kind of like distinguish some of those themes throughout. And then in terms of breaking it up, you could do it
So
by
should we scrap lobbying then?
no. I think lobbying's great. I think that's fantastic. But like, try to pair it up with like some of the things that are like, oh, this is a bigger deal. So for instance, Ralph Nader, right? He's like a famous lobbyist, and uh he led the campaign to sue um General Motors for the Corvair in the 60s because it was super unsafe the way it was built in the suspension, and they knew it, but they kept selling it anyways. And they fought him, and they did like the dirtiest things. They like sent private investigators to his house. They had people break into his psychiatrist's office and steal the files on him, which there was nothing on him. They found no dirt. And the judge, when he made the settlement, he's like, well, you should feel vindicated, Mr. Nader. They did the biggest scrub job they could find, and they didn't get any dirt on you at all. You're an honest man. And so he took the winnings from this lawsuit and founded some kind of consumer protection uh, league or group that lobbies against like unsafe corporate practices. And he had written a book on the Corvair. I think that might have actually been the original source of the trouble, and it was called Unsafe at Any Speed. So you could talk about that and then use that as just a lens to look at kind of, so that's about consumer rights. It's part of the rights movement, which is it's a pushback against this like corporate menace, and lobbyists can work there as well, like good lobbyists. And then there's the bad ones that like in the 1970s, a bunch of Boeing or I think it was Northrop executives and maybe one senator got actually arrested, fined and cited for bribery after the war. Like once they're in the 50s, like the corporations went over there and were trying to buy off politicians left and right to secure like aircraft deals and manufacturing deals, and they were lobbying, of course, was a part of that. And so there's like bad lobbyists, and you could use something like that to talk about the Cold War and the CIA, something like we just looked at, like the kind of origins of the Cold War really involved the birth of the CIA. And indeed, the CIA is like the kind of engine driving the Cold War in at least a dual plane and dual engine plane. There might be a 4-engine plane. It's at least one of the engines driving the Cold War. So you could use that to look at like, oh, corporate law, and then this like kind of bureaucratic corporate structure that's completely outside of like civilian oversight and supervision and accountability. And then maybe you can also like look at like, well, how do corporate like businesses or that kind of corporatization of different government structures also like remove the accountability from that. So those are just a few like ideas,
Profe-
examples of how you can use something that's specific to your timeline to then kind of look at a whole idea or movement at the time, because it's not just the consumer rights, it's civil rights, it's gay and lesbian rights, it's Hispanic and Chicano rights, it's environmental rights, it's women's rights. It's like that's the 60s. So that's a very corporate law point to take a snapshot and talk about the kind of rights movements of the 60s and what's going on culturally in the movement across the country in the moment, through the lens of an event that's really kind of germane and relevant to both those movements and your topic. So
Thank you.
Professor, I have a question. I'm the one who's concentrating in American philosophy, religion, movies, and the cyber, but I don't know, like you were saying in the timeline. So I mean, I'm more in the 1980s and the 2000, but how do I put it in the timeline?
So like take your here, I'm trying to scan down to that. No, I just changed it. Great.
Okay, so I did. Okay, thank
Yeah.
you, Dawn.
So
Refresh your screens, refresh them, because I made edits to the dates. 'Cause I
Okay.
think just getting that we're off for everyone to see, like, hey, we're changing. It's not just
Okay.
your block versus everyone else now. It's like a buffet now. Yes.
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, you can kind of see like the ebb and flow of your things with some of the other things that are actually happening right next to it on some of
I
these
see.
themes. And then just kind of the
Okay.
big chunks in the middle, right? Like the uh yeah, like this, like the crash of the stock market in 1929. That's kind of affect everything, right? It's
Yeah.
corporate structures, all the corporations, the big ones, they all grow bigger. Just like the world's America's billionaires gained $1 trillion in wealth collectively just since Corona pandemic started. Like they usually always make a lot of money when the really, really wealthy do. A few of them, lose it, but yeah. So go, put those things out there, and then things like the different themes, right? Like so, uh, kind of sci-fi, right? Like and technology, like all of the things that you were talking about, Francis. They're all kind of like American culture. So how does American
Okay.
culture grow, and is affected and disaffected by these corporate kind of growths of things, right? Like the the mechanization of work for people, being limited
Okay.
time,
So it's
automobiles, right? Those kinds of, but also like religion, right? Like we were
yeah.
talking about a week or two ago, where oh, churches are structured like corporations today. All of like pretty
Uh-huh.
much all of them. If you legally want to be a church, you have to incorporate in American society. So, uh, yeah, that's you can look at kind of just different developments on that. And honestly, I know this sounds like, well, that doesn't sound very academic, or like there should be a better thing to do than that. Go like on a lot of these things, you could like Google up a Wikipedia page on a lot of different of these topics just to look at what they suggest as some of the big highlights, and you'll find at least articles, but usually like you can find timelines on a lot of different things. So if you looked up like changes in church structure and law, or changes in ecclesiastical structure, in the 20th century or something, you could probably find stuff that like, is all over the
Okay.
place about that. The ecumenical church movement, like there's like a worldwide church council kind of, there's all
Yes,
kinds of,
sir.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I'm the one who, I'm pretty sure everyone in my group was happy to have this meeting. I'm the one who really like got together, and the reason why is because I was writing essays, and the thing is like, I thought it was kind of appropriate to write at least one or two because I was going to introduce corporate law, and also it's kind of as fun because I'm a bit nerdy. But the thing is, it's very exhausting, particularly when I have other things to do in other classes.
Oh
So
yeah.
like if this was like a summer class, I'd write like 15 essays. But like the thing
Yeah.
is, I have statistics, I have philosophy, I have, yeah. So the thing is, for the reason why I was also really eager to organize it into 10 years, or like even like, yeah, you get it.
Yeah.
So maybe I could focus on each period, making small, like very small paragraphs, like 5 set.
Yeah, that's perfect. And I was going to say that you can do um 10-year periods. That's a real like straightforward way to just break it up. You can also do, if you kind of notice like, oh, all of these big giant things actually all go together and there's kind of a big shift this year, you can make those the gaps too, because then your introductions, are like kind of like, yeah, like little header introductions can be kind of like, you can theme it while there's all kinds of other stuff happening that you'll include some of. You can really talk about this, and that's why a lot of people talk about the Roaring Twenties, because it's like, well, pretty much since like the end of the war up to like 1929, it's one
Yeah,
economic corporate law, and then it turns really hard and is a different thing. So it's like, that's why the stock market falling it's a really big thing that affects every topic, every timeline should be.
yeah, and sir, the reason why essays were really, really expensive, well, I think they're good products. Like I thought the essays I wrote were great. And the
Yeah.
problem is that they literally take a long time to research because you want to say it consistently and perfectly, and you have to make all the sentences combine. So in the time it takes me to write one essay, I could probably, without nearly as much stress, probably write 5 short paragraphs.
Yeah, which is good, which would be great. Like do that.
That's,
Yeah, do
yeah, that's better. Yeah. And
paragraphs, and then on, for all of you, as you notice different things like, oh, this isn't included in here, like I wonder if, you know, the end of the Vietnam War is important for this. Maybe it is. And then you think about it and go, yeah, probably. And so you go look for just a little thing on it, just a little information, and include that, include a link or a video or a picture graph statistic and some data about that thing happening, you know, in the world, whether that's the Paris Peace Treaty officially ending the war, or like the last troops out of Vietnam. Like, okay, that probably is going to signal a shift in kind of what's going on in the country and the world, and globalization and corporate law and all those things. So as you notice those things, go ahead and add them, but it doesn't have to be a lot, right? It can just be like a little thing. And some of them are super self-explanatory, right? Like JFK assassinated. You don't actually have to even write out a big long thing on like, on this day, you know, Lee Harvey Oswald was in the, you know, the school book repository building, and there might have been a thing, you know, on the grassy knoll. Like you can just be like date, you know, uh, it's November 11th, right? Or is it 7th? I always get them flip flopped. It's November 13th. Dang it! I think it's November 13th, 1960.
Sure.
Is like, you know, you can just have that like a title, JFK assassinated, that, and then something that you're talking about where there's a shift in government or federal government, or like what's going to go on, or Johnson, and how you can just use that moment to then also talk about like kind of Americans concern for safety, maybe, right? Something like that. So yeah.
Yeah, and like here's an example. In this book, Pivotal Decade, by like a female economist, she traces changes in financial and manufacturing regulations and how it impacts globalization, what have you. It's a great book, but it's difficult to read. There's this brilliant paragraph that I'm going to cite. She cites how the time period from like 1935 to 1980, but she says she makes the case in her book 1970s. So that's interesting. But you get it. She calls that period the Great Compression of wages and of regulations. And she cites how a lot of economic literature, political literature reflects that, and how like 5 different books by great economists were talking about how the tensions between capital and labor disappeared, or like are like a thing of the past.
Yeah.
So can I put that in quotations? And
Yeah.
maybe like, okay, yeah.
Oh yeah, that would be great. And that's like a great, you know, so yeah, because in the 1930s, right, that's the New Deal, which really restructures a ton of the economy and creates a ton of corporate law, like so much corporate law in the 1930s about, well, trying to regulate industries and, you know, whole districts and economies and different things. And so a lot of the, you know, how it's different than kind of socialism and kind of direct government control over those things is saying, well, you industries go self-regulate yourselves, get together and talk about it. And so of course, like, well, there's a bunch of auto manufacturers in the 1930s. There's something like 50 or 45 different car manufacturing companies in, you know, at the end of the 1920s. You know, after the war, after the New Deal and then the war, it's like 3.5, you know, really, like they own everything. They bought up the other names and own everything. And it's just like giant industry, like huge, definitely too big to fail. Some of the first recipients of government welfare bailout. So like in the New Deal and that process of like, hey, you guys got to self-regulate there, you know, whether that's the NRA, you know, or the NIRA or any of those things, you can then talk about that and talk about the Great Compression and how that's kind of like setting in motion kind of this thing that now seems inevitable in a lot of, you know, just kind of an industry and corporate structure. So
Yes, sir.
it's great to include, you can include quotes. And of course, like you guys should go grab YouTube videos of some of these ideas or things or events that unpack them. That's why tonight I'm like, I'm just going to play this Oliver Stone episode. He covers a lot of stuff in an hour, and I like pretty much how he covers most all of it. Like it's pretty.
Wait, Wait, where would we find the Oliver Stone episode? We want to watch it again after class for
So,
reference.
yeah, so it used to be on Netflix. I have I have copies of like the MP4s of them. And I think they're already on my Google Drive. So I'm gonna include a link in the email I send out tonight to watch them. I'll include a link to download them if you want them. Just don't tell.
Are you still recording?
Yeah, I'll let it, I might edit this part out. uh,
Hey, Professor,
yeah.
thank you for answering my questions, but in regards to my essays, can I keep them where they are, but just take the facts I put in them into those different time periods? Because
Yeah.
I think they're good summaries, or like a good introduction to baseline emergency.
Yeah, and like so there are some other timelines. Like I was meeting with the photography group earlier, and I think Jennifer might still be on here. Summer Petty, I think that's her. They've
I'm here.
yeah. So I was looking at their stats, and they've put hours into it. So some of their members at least have put hours into it, and it really reflects. They've got a pretty thorough one, lots of different, like there's good media on it. It looks, there's like thought behind that kind of design and layout and how they're putting it together. So I'm trying to get everybody to make their group public view at least, so that I can share
Wait,
this. We can
I'm
also
confused on something. Do you want us to like deconstruct the way we have it? Because the way we have it right now is like different topics and then we talk about it. And you want us to like make it into like one big timeline covering
We are
everything
doing
at
that.
once?
Yeah, Noah's already on it. He's jamming. He's got it going.
Yeah.
So yeah, but like with those, like the essays are kind of the longer multi-paragraph things any of you guys have written. Those are good. So the photography timeline has a lot of like great layout and is pretty thorough in terms of like a lot of the stuff they're including. And you guys have a lot of really good themed yet kind of diverse topics that all relate to each other and already have good stuff that goes throughout the timeline. You'll find more that even relates to those, essays or little, mini essays that you've got in here. But yeah, you can keep those in one spot, like the introduction to corporate law. Yeah, that's like, that's great. Like leave that up there. Corporate law summary, like both of those are good. Make make the paragraphs a little easier to see. Maybe make them full page.
Yeah, how come we can't, or is it just me that me not knowing how to? We can't change the background of like the contribution. Like they're all like white. I thought I can like change the color of mine. to,
Oh
like,
yeah, you should be
greater.
able to. Let's see. So let me click on one. So if you-
It's actually easy to do. It's easy to do. If you go to the top and hover, there's a little white dot, and if you click on it, it will change colors. So there's different colors.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
You
you.
just gotta
Yeah.
hover along the top of what you see it. Okay.
I wanted to make mine pink, and it was just like sitting there kind of bitter when
You're right, Professor. It looks a lot better.
it's coming. Yeah, this is great.
Refresh it. Yeah, we refresh it and look at it. It looks so much better.
It's already getting like, yeah, this is like more manageable and probably, oh yeah, that's great. That's great at the beginning. And so then so I think I'm a contributor on here. So I'll just show you what I mean I go on this emergence of general incorporation and show where some of these breaks are. Oh no, that wasn't one of them. Well, that's a big long paragraph. Maybe a couple of these paragraphs could be broken up a little bit. Let's see here. Oh yeah.
Oh, I was like, well, why is it changing? And I was like, oh wait, you're editing. Never mind. I was like, what's going on? I didn't put that there.
Yeah. So yeah, I made like where you already had paragraph breaks. I went ahead and put space in there, so it's easier to like delineate
Yeah,
and
that looks better. Thank you.
you got it. You got it. And then yeah, like this second paragraph is like that probably needs to be that thought.
It's because it covers 2 court cases in depth, and they both complement one another.
So like what you could totally do here is make a, let me go up to the beginning here. That's right. I remember this. I remember reading about this.
Should I move that Reagan thing to the bottom where it says like 1970s?
Yeah. I'd move it down there. I think that, yeah, that's right. So for the second paragraph, for instance, you could put in here like underneath this, just like, and bold it, you know, you could just select it and hit B or hit Control B and write maybe like something even in kind of shorthand. You could write like SCOTUS assumes authority, you know, assumes legal authority over corporate law, and then like just like just skip down and just not in bold now, just write like 2 cases, 2 Supreme Court cases, you know, but Bank of US versus DeVoe, and is it, what's the second one here?
Dartmouth College versus Woodward.
Right. Yeah. So you could just mention both of them there and then say, and then maybe say the just the thing that they have in common or why they're like, you know, you're talking about them together, and then hit colon. And then you go down, skip another line, and you could indent it if you wanted to, or make a bullet point, or just have a paragraph for the first case. And
Yeah, I
then
don't know how to move that.
second case, and either end it or then have like another just kind of regular, not indented, not bullet pointed, or just another short, you know, summary of those 2 things together. So like that's a way you could break up that larger thought in a way that's a little bit more user friendly for somebody that's just trying to like, okay, what is this about? Get both of those up right at the beginning. And why, and then like, yeah, you can break it up into the 2 separate cases because it looks like you've got easily enough there for.
How do I move this thing down?
So okay, so if you here, let me share my screen really quick. I'll do this. So if you're, you know, I'm here in the Satori. When you hover over it, like Jennifer was saying, you see all these options here that are like in Word, right? Bold, italic, underline, and this is like you can choose the text size, the orientation, bullet point, numbered list, and then this is where you choose your colors, right? So you can make that orange if you wanted to. And what Jennifer did, and I like, and I might like tell all the groups.
I changed mine to pink. Will we get points marked down for changing the colors?
No, not at all. And I was gonna say what Jennifer's group was doing, they all picked a color per person, which I like that idea a lot, and it makes it really easy to just recognize whose contribution is what, just visually, and of course breaks it up, you know, visually, so it's just a little more colorful in that. So like just bland white paper. But then right next to it,
we each put our name on ours too. So we put our names and a color. So it was just easily separated.
yeah. And so like this, we can, you know, you can get rid of that. We don't need that at all. And then I'd put your name either under the little title header like that. And you could probably even, you could probably even indent it if you want to, you know, you can figure out, you can figure out how you enjoy it laid out or what you think looks best, or you could put it down here at the end. Also, you can put these, you can make a footer and put all your references together like in order if you want to. This is fine for me too. You can also take this hyperlink and then like on the thing that you're talking about, like this one for the founding fathers up here, and one of these earlier cases, you go, okay, Chief Justice Mark, you highlight him and make that the link, which you have to go all the way back up here to do, which is unfortunate, but you click that to make that the hyperlink, and then you don't even have to have the thing listed at the bottom. You don't have to do it that way. This, like I said, the stuff at the bottom's totally fine. But yeah, you guys can play around with it, but yeah, make the format like easy.
But how do I move it? Like,
Oh yeah, sorry. So like in that, if you see now, so right next to the change color, you could delete it. You could go
Do that to mine, please.
add media. You can shrink it so it goes half page or full page, and then this is what you grab to like drag it, and you have to kind of drag it, and sometimes it's a little slow to let them move around, but then you can drag it
okay.
on, or wherever you want to go. The bigger it gets, the slower.
Okay, sir, would you recommend, say, like I know this isn't the point of the project, but like a few contributions per decade, let's say?
Yeah, so like major ones, right? Like where you're writing stuff, and not this level at all. Like I'm not expecting that from anybody. It's great. I appreciate it. I thought it was very very good, and the connections, the analysis is wonderful. Everybody's welcome to write that, but like you said, everybody's got finals and it's holidays, and
even me, I ran out of gas at the end of the fourth one. I was like, I can't believe I was playing writing on 15 of those. No, because I'm an economics nerd, I can do this. And then
when you told me, I'm like, damn, dude, you're a machine, man. I don't know. It's crazy. But
December class, I could probably do it, but like I have like three other classes, and I have to write a really good essay in philosophy too. So I'm like, why am I writing 10 for free in Stepro? And no, I was like, I'm such a that's a bad. Yeah, I'm not doing that. So that's why I was like, we need to call a meeting, guys. Even if you guys don't come, I want a meeting with the professor.
Yeah.
I want to know what we need to do when we leave class to like make our project better.
Yeah. So like add media to all of your topics. Color code by person.
Okay. Is everybody in our group here?
I think so.
1, 2, 3. I call purple.
Not BB. What'd you say? Who
I call
called
purple.
Okay, whatever. I don't care about that. Okay, well, I mean, you guys, it's good you guys are fighting over and all, but I thought it was something more important. Like, like what'd you guys call it? It's like, oh, you call it color. Okay, never mind. And Sepro, I'm still gonna put my name at the top of the contributions. Is that all right? Because I'm concerned that the time may not be commensurate with the effort I put in. So can I put?
Oh, yeah. Well, don't worry about that. I know
Nobody's gonna question your effort.
Yeah. You don't have to worry about that.
Fair enough.
If you put it at the top, put it right underneath the header, and then a space for like like in a newspaper or something like that. Do it that way. If you do it.
Yeah, because even if it says like 20 minutes, when you look at the amount of writing and he's gonna be able to see who put what in there, I don't think that's gonna matter.
I was like, dude, if you wrote all those in an hour and a half,
wait, what's my time?
Because
not only that, Noah, but I'm pretty sure like we see how you are in class. I don't think any of us will doubt that you slack. I think you're safe.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But then also, if you're copying and pasting from the notes, it's not you can copy and paste in 10 minutes and you can contribute a lot.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, like, and this is kind of unfair, but this is also kind of.
Wait, did we skip 1995 till 2004?
Oh,
No.
yeah.
Wait, we did. Okay.
Don't add it.
Drew Clinton. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Wait. So with every project, with each of us projects, I know mine's is completely different. What if we don't have where it's like a 10-year gap like that? Is that okay?
So here's the thing.
Okay.
If you don't have something really specific to your topic,
Mm-hmm.
like the
Mhm.
privatization of prisons,
Mm-hmm.
just go back to your thesis statement, like in a paper. Like,
Mhm.
what is that? Oh, essentially, it's like corporate law, American culture influencing corporate law and corporate law influencing American culture, like the two-way street that it is. And
Mhm.
we're increasing
Guys,
corporate, right? So
Actually,
that's essentially
Wait,
like
I'm sorry. So we're
2005 is
supposed
it?
to do starting from 1975 to 2016.
what?
So those dates that are on
Refresh
there,
your
we're
screen, Professor. I have 1995 to 2005 there. It's just. you
oh,
refresh your-
okay. I'm sorry.
okay.
Refresh.
Because I was about to say, one mistake I think I made was like I just talked about everything really briefly. Because if we're going to do those years, I can go into like more description on like Bill Clinton and like Captain Three Strikes Are Out.
Yeah. Include like Janet Reno, right? And even, you're gonna find some stuff in the 70s on the war on drugs and the privatization of prisons about Joe Biden, right? Like definitely
Yeah.
include that stuff. And if you get all the way up to like the 2010s, you probably include some stuff about Kamala Harris as well. Like, because they're
Sure can, because she did a lot in California that was not good.
I literally said that. I said nothing ever comes good out of California being in the White House. Nixon, Reagan, and Kamala. You know what? Let me keep my 2 cents.
Ford was from
But yet they still pushed her on us.
yeah. And pushed Bernie.
Looking at the options.
I mean, for sure.
Bernie was a good man.
I
You know,
mean, I
Bernie
thought
didn't
Re-
run
I
because
thought-
everyone
Running
said he
4
was
more
old.
years.
Bernie
mean,
didn't
there's
wanna
multiple
run
reasons
because
why
everyone
people-
said he
too,
was
like
old.
No, that's not the only reason. It's like these campaigns cost like billions of dollars to run. Like that's the main thing that kicks out all these different people who want to run. Like they don't have money.
The city
Like we
of
have Joe
Pasadena.
Biden still asking his supporters for money
Yeah.
So
because
it's
like
Trump. My
Yeah.
mom gets a call every day.
Well,
yeah,
the
it's
city of
easier
El
for somebody like a
Paso,
Trump to run.
They started proceedings to like legally collect from the re-elect Donald Trump campaign. That
Yeah,
had a
that's
huge
what my mom is
revenue.
getting calls every day, and she has a business phone, and
What?
that's all we get every day.
Yeah, because like if you're like a billionaire, like a Bloomberg or a Trump, like you can afford to fund your own campaign, but like a lot of them, they started dropping out because the funds started running out.
Yeah, exactly. Or in Bernie's case, the DNC just snubbed him out again because that's
Right.
dirty.
People,
So
those
I have
were-
a question. Can we like look at mines? Because we were trying to meet several times for our groups, but we
Yeah.
just couldn't get our time together. So can we just do
Yeah.
that really quick, please? And
Yeah,
then we can continue with the conversation.
Yeah, and everything that I said here, minus probably the very long ones is relevant to everybody's project. So let me
Sweet.
turn over to
Because I'm still kind of confused on, and can you please, show the view? I'm still kind of confused on where to like put, because like half of my people in my group did like the American Dream while I'm working on like what is America. And so I'm just kind of like where I just kind of lost at the top part, not at the bottom part.
Yeah. Okay. So again, make headers for like that. They don't have to just be years. They could be years and like a title that goes with it, if you're theming stuff together.
Okay.
But something in there where you're breaking it up by years in chronological order, like the course material. And then these various things, you're kind of placing them throughout the timeline where they should go. And then as you see, oh, you've got all these things in the 60s about the American dream and, materialism and nationalism. But like, there was nothing in there about the space program or, JFK getting assassinated, which kind of shifts the American dream, or suburban, growth of the West in California. If Woodstock's not included, right? Like, right. So like, oh, okay. Like once you guys get all your things together, you'll all start seeing where it's like, oh, we need some more of these things in here. And they don't have to be the primary thing, and you don't have to write a lot on it. You just need to write, like, you just need to connect it to what,
Mm-hmm.
like, why it's included. And some of
Mhm.
them seem like, well, duh, or why it's included. Like, that's really like obvious. We're talking about what's American and the American dream and Woodstock. That seemed, oh, well, the other half of the group's like, oh, I would never have even thought to include Woodstock.
Well, I was thinking about that, but I was like, I'm trying to figure out where I'll put, because I was thinking about putting 9/11, but I'm like, well, do I want to put that with the patriotism and nationalism, or do I put that towards the end?
So you
And I've
take the
been
theme of
Mhm,
patriotism and
mhm,
nationalism and just take all your different things and put them
mhm.
in place on that line.
Okay.
And then start looking for like where there's a big large gap. It's easier to see that way. So you're like, oh, there's like a 20-year gap between this and the next thing I write. Like
Okay.
there's definitely got to be some other stuff in there that I could do a little analysis on to kind of connect those. And of
Okay,
course,
so how do I like
there's
can you
other-
show me again how to spread that out? Because it seems like with the way it is, it's like up and down, side to side, side to side, side to side. And I'm trying to do it to where it's like on top and on top of on top.
yeah. So let's see here. So right here, uh, you're just gonna make another header that is for lack of a better term.
Oh, that's how okay, I was trying to figure that. Okay, okay, okay.
To and like I'll just like help you guys out here a little bit. I would say 1890 because this is why I'm trying to help out a little bit because it's a ways back.
Okay,
That's the
there we go.
closing of the West, right? Which is kind of a big
Mhm,
part of like American self-identity and thinking about that stuff. So like if you're
mhm.
going with a theme, you do that and then put everything in order of years through that
That-
header.
yeah, that's where we kind of, if you see, that's where we kind of did it, where it's in order, like starting from the American Dream. Like I think she started off with the Roaring Twenties, or no, she
Yeah.
started a little bit before that, but I don't know how to like make it wide. It seems like it's small.
So then yeah. So like how this is wide, this video here.
Yeah.
So if you click on that or like hover over it and you get the top up here where you can like
Uh-huh.
change colors and stuff, you just go to
Uh-huh.
this
Oh, okay, there we
that
go.
guy right.
Oh, yeah, there we go. I want to make it wider, like that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah, 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 yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, like
And
that.
yeah, so like make your important points or the points where you got a lot of writing, make those the big wide ones, a big video you want everybody to watch. The other ones that are kind of like support or like connective dots or things that are related
Mhm.
to the big one that you just mentioned, you can put them side by side or if you're comparing things, but add media to the ones that don't have media. And then I'll put it right underneath this one. So you can just kind of drag and to move them, you just right here, this part, this one
Mhm.
far left, you just hold that down and drag and drop. So
Oh.
more headers for you. 18, 90,
Oh, okay.
19, 20. Yeah, we'll do that. 19,
20.
20, which would be like, yeah, okay. So this kind of imperialistic thing after the West and through World War One, and then another one from 1920 to maybe you could either do just the 1929 and the 20s.
Yeah, that's what we would want to do like that. Yeah.
Yeah, because that seems probably appropriate. And then like, 19 to
We do 49 or something? Or 45.
probably
Okay.
45 because it's like, well, America's one thing. And then it kind of like shifts and grows during the war, but then becomes something else like immediately after the war, right? Like we were just looking at tonight. So then you do kind of 1845 to yeah, and then this is where it's like, well, you guys kind of have to decide. Like, that seems like a real easy, obvious one.
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah, we have all of
yeah,
those gaps, are those parts filled in, but like the 18 something, I mean, the only thing I have is like 1776 with like what is a, like the term American. But I was always confused on where, so the patriotism and national versus nationalism, that's fine where it is.
yeah, and you could do like 1776 before the Civil War, like before the class starts, right? Or before the
Yeah.
union, or before it, what you could like put a title there, and then this is kind of like the one where Noah had, where it's like, hey, corporate law leading up to 1865. This is where you're putting
Mhm.
some things like, okay, this is like some of the big things that were influencing how Americans viewed themselves or thought about themselves. Um, and then at 1865, you can start some of those things. And right, like, so um right before 1865 and
Mhm.
1860, 61 and the Civil War, there is you know there's the Oregon Trail, there's the Gold Rush,
Oh yeah.
Telegram, right? Like those are some big ones. But then like right after the war, there's that transcontinental transatlantic cable, which is connecting America to Europe and kind of like legitimizing America, like America's emerging as like a real nation state like Europeans. But also like a few years later, then the Transcontinental Railroad gets, made, which connects the country instantaneously, like so much quicker than any time before than people even imagined a few, decades earlier. And so those are just like on some of those event breakthrough technology levels. Those are things that probably change the way Americans think about America and themselves and stuff like that, right? You can also then,
Uh-huh.
you can talk on the like what happened in the Plains Indian War, with the, what happened with the quote unquote subjugation of the native people. Like, well, what does that mean? That kind of like means something about Americans, and maybe Americans that aren't Native American don't like thinking about this a whole lot. Like maybe this should influence who we are as Americans a lot more than it does. Maybe the way like slavery should, like maybe we should all just kind of be a little bit more like reckoned with those ideas and facts from our own history. But
Oh, okay, that makes sense. Because I was, well, okay, never mind. Okay, that kind of makes, because I have what I have in my notes is like, because I was quoting like different friends and what they think American is. And then like one of them, he said America is freedom to choose who
yeah,
you want to be. So then I was gonna put like something about freedom and like Jesse Owens winning the Olympics and how that, I don't think that's partly tied to the American dream. Actually, Jesse Owens winning the Olympics and
yeah, but it is
um.
some people, right? And it is
Mhm,
internationally about how
mhm,
foreigners think about the American dream. Like you could talk about
mhm,
that and the international events that Americans might not think a lot about, but other people do and they remember and stuff like
mhm,
both good and bad. And Jesse Owens at the 1936 Olympics was a good one and a huge one. And it was part of like, it was one of the earliest things really that thrusted some energy into the like legal push with the NAACP and civil rights. And then
mhm,
that, that is not something that we might think of like as what it is to be American or the American dream in a happy days sense, but it is
mhm.
a sense of like, well, that was part of what it means for the American dream for a whole good chunk of the population who's been excluded from that dream for a long time too, right? Like
Right.
that's the kind of more edgy, controversial, analytic side that you can approach some of those things at. And not just you, like everybody can do that with the various things that they see or kind of care about or are thinking about in terms of the American dream. And so somebody might go, oh, well, I've actually really thought about some of these things and how, you know, foreigners view, because my parents are immigrants and they didn't grow up here, and like they think about some of the things in the past very differently. That's something that they can just kind of go through and look at timelines and look at the stuff on Satori and look at, just think about what
Can is it okay to say like I was gonna put like under like just in general, I was gonna be like America is also oppressed and then bring up like the hurricane and like certain riot events.
oh yeah, for sure. Like from well, we've had lots of like our riot history. We've had a lot of riots always.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, some of the giant ones are like the LA riots in 92, right?
Mm-hmm.
Katrina, disaster that the government just totally blew it on. Our current homelessness crisis, like these are things that are now defining America. Maybe not in America's self-perception of, who we are, but in the world's perception. Like they know about
Mm-hmm.
they know about our numbers of poverty and statistics and obesity and illiteracy and incarceration.
Mm-hmm.
Like those are coming to define who Americans are going to be remembered historically, whether that's part of our conception or American dream or whatever or not. That's just kind of what's happening. So I'd say you guys maybe like Zoom a little bit together, maybe over the week,
Okay.
and go like, okay, so we got to fill out these like decades or big time period chunks and go
Mm-hmm.
order with different things, and we got to make sure we hit the really important things.
Yeah.
So like the birth of baseball, and then kind of
Yeah, I was gonna
the
say like
national leagues. Yeah, the radio being a unifying technology on a national identity for people. Like those are all things that are like, oh yeah. So you can go to those. Of course, you can go to media, and once film gets made, you can go to some of these really iconic films about America or the American dream. Like Forrest Gump would be a great one to go to in the, once you get to the 90s and how Americans kind of remember the second half of the 20th.
she added that.
Yeah. Oh, great. Yeah. Yeah. So like those are great. Like, so you can go to media, you can go to of course you can go to like economics and stuff that happens to the economy and kind of poverty rates and whatnot.
I was also saying like America is opportunistic,
Yeah.
and then start bringing up certain presidents that were very governments that were
Pretty
I
correct.
can't say the word properly. Opportunistic.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Well,
was gonna bring up Richard Nixon.
yes. Yeah. Yeah. And like, because so Watergate, it's good you mentioned him, because Watergate's would be one of the most important events on your timeline.
Yeah.
Like it changes how Americans think about the government in America in the future and all this stuff. It's one of the biggest ones. It's a very big one. So yeah, it's that's one of the major points on there. So yeah, like look at those things, and just when you get kind of stuck,
Mhm.
think on like a more specific narrow lens under this thesis or theme. So like, film and media or technology or
Mhm.
you know uh you could look at cultural phenomenon, which of course would include like religion or religious movements or um toys or fads with children or education,
Mhm.
like any of those things. So not only is the formation of the National Baseball League important to American
And Super Bowl. I was thinking about that.
right, but like, oh, the institution of public education where everybody's taught English and everybody's now taught American history in a very specific version of it usually. Like, oh, that is a very unifying effect on how Americans see themselves as Americans. So Yeah, like it's a great topic. Like it's a really good one. It's kind of nicely broad and specific. So you can look at like
Mhm.
just different really important things and some different kind of unique things that you're like, well, I've thought about this that maybe nobody has. And maybe it's not the biggest one. Maybe it's not Watergate, but it's, that can be unique.
Well, I was also thinking like it's also, it's grandma's, apple pie. So that was gonna give a nod to
Yeah.
like the Southern culture and just
Yeah.
apple pie. That's just American as it gets.
Yeah, totally. Like cuisine, food, and then,
Mhm.
like globalization, internationalization of food, like food courts at the mall in the 80s. Like,
Mhm.
like it's like, well, you can look at that through that one thing and just like there's a whole bunch of things that come up all of a sudden. So,
Michelle,
Yes.
through my research, I just posted a bunch of articles that summarize a book by Trachberg. He wrote a
Mhm.
book called The Incorporation of America. He details cultural changes with industrialization after the Civil War. You should read them over. They're good summaries. I was going to cite them in the essays I was going to write before I realized how ridiculously difficult that would be. Yeah, so I'm just probably just gonna reference them in small, tiny paragraphs.
Okay,
But-
well, what I'm doing is I'm copying and pasting everything that you sent and I'm putting it in my notes so I can review it later.
Of course, yeah,
And then I
recommend.
probably can just add it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's like 5 different articles right there. I mean, 5 different contributions, small contributions right there.
yeah, it's great. And that's what I meant about like, hey, borrow from each other, like get informed, make all your groups public so that I can, not only can I see them, everybody else, we can all see each other's stuff. And yeah, where there's like synergy to like bounce off of other people's work, do it because there's so much out there. It's not like you're plagiarizing. You can cite them, you can give them credit for it. It'll just enhance, it's bonus, right? It's like, oh, this is going to enhance your timeline, you're contributing more stuff, and it's not really costing you anything. And as long as you're making original contributions in addition to that, and that's like supporting material, that's great. We should be working that way. So thank you.
So how do we
All-
add
all you
the,
guys
so
can
I
do
could just add
questions.
I'm sorry. I can just add as many, all the people in my whole class or like, what do we do? Cause I feel like half of my group, well, it's only 4 of us, or 3 of us, but they're in their online class.
Right. Well, so like I would say you guys just need to figure out a time to talk live. Like,
Mhm.
like I'm gonna post this as well as
Mhm.
it's like the Cold War lecture and the link to
Mhm.
so have them watch this, especially because we go over stuff for your group and
Okay.
stuff for the other group, the corporate law group. And then figure out a time to just talk on the phone or Zoom for even if it's 10 minutes, right? Like just so you kind of get on the same page, division,
Mhm.
how what the last push is going to be like, what people's real time constraints are, and real possibility of how much work they can do in the next, week. It really is. So everybody's expectations are kind of adjusted and in line. Every group should do that in the next few days. And with Thanksgiving, I know everybody's around family, but there's if it's 3 or 4 people there's a good shot you could find 10 or 15 minutes to talk.
Yeah, well, the day that, not that I'm saying you snubbed us or anything like that, but it was good because we ended up just having our own group meeting and it was just the 2 of us, but we were able to get and hammer out. It's just funny how me and her both woke up at 7:00 in the morning. We just started the Satori and I realized, I was like, whoa, you're effing up the project. And then we were able to hammer it out and then sync up. And I thought that was just great. That I think me and her like to just work on it early as possible in the morning. And then we do it till like about 12 and then we're done. So I think that would probably just be what I'm going to have to do these next couple of days. Cause you said we only have a week left in class or 2 weeks.
Just a week.
Wait, a
Yeah,
week?
so we have a week. We need to finish our OneNote, take our test, and finish our project.
Yep.
Yeah.
Stress.
Okay. All right. But look, I'll pull up OneNote here. In terms of like
Question.
material, you guys have been trucking. Like this is what I meant. Like, yeah, the 80s are maybe a little thin. They should get.
I'll go ahead and fill that in because I love the 80s because I was born
Yeah.
in the 80s, so I can
the
just fill that in.
80s.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll just go ahead and start with that.
Do 80s, and this honestly, it is a little easier too, because the closer we get, the more context everybody has for stuff, and the easier it is to write, and you're not even having to look as much stuff up, right? So
What do you suggest we do to prepare for the last test? Is the last test going to be worth 100 points as well?
yeah, and that's why we're going to do the presentations and to make up for that other test. So we'll do kind of class presentations to make up for that other test.
What day are the presentations?
We're going to do next Wednesday, the last half of class, and then the following Thursday.
So we have to talk.
Not necessarily much. Like you don't really have to be on screen, and you can just share verbally about kind of some thoughts on your project. I will send an email out though. My wife keeps calling me, and I probably need to go home right now. So I'm gonna have to end. But
Sounds good.
great discussion. I will upload this.
have a-
and- yeah, good luck, guys.
I have a quick question before.
Okay,
Hello? Hello?
Yeah. I can hear you.